Action versus inaction. For those accustomed to a life of action, learning the art of inaction can be as challenging as it is for the habitual non-doer to learn to act. Habits, after all, have a significant influence on our decision-making processes and behavior. Individuals who thrive on activity may find it hard to stay idle, to resist the urge to do constantly. This is because they derive their sense of worth or accomplishment from taking concrete steps, making discernible progress, or effecting palpable change. On the other hand, those who are more comfortable with inaction may find the prospect of action daunting. This could be because they value contemplation over execution or find comfort in the predictability and safety of non-action. When thrust into situations that require action, they might feel overwhelmed or out of their depth. Hence, pushing the doer towards inaction and the non-doer towards action is like turning the tide. It's a struggle against the familiar, a challenging recalibration of ingrained tendencies. It underscores the notion that action and inaction are not merely choices we make but are often reflections of our ingrained habits and comfort zones. Knowing when to act and when not to act is very important. It's not just about making a decision, it's more about understanding the situation and the effects our choices could have. Sometimes, we need to take charge and make things happen. Other times, we need to step back and let things play out. It's not only about choosing between action and inaction, but knowing when to use each one. Acting can lead to change and progress, while not acting can give us time to think and adjust our plans. Both are important ways of dealing with the world's uncertainties. The skill of timing our actions, and equally, our non-actions, is essential in life. It goes beyond merely choosing an action. It's about grasping the deeper aspects of the situation and the potential outcomes. At times, the best response is to jump in, to intervene, to make things move. On other occasions, the right choice is to hold back, to observe, and to let things naturally unfold. Think of it not as picking one over the other, action or inaction, but about knowing when each is most effective. Being active can spark changes and drive progress, while being inactive can provide valuable thinking time and allow for better planning. Both methods offer distinct ways to navigate the unpredictable world we live in, ensuring we're equipped for any situation. Conscious inaction, an intriguing yet underappreciated strategy, has its unique place in the process of decision-making. It offers an alternative path, allowing us to detach, reflect, and assess before rushing headlong into the turmoil of action. Often, the rush towards hasty decisions can lead to suboptimal outcomes, inviting unnecessary complications. Conscious inaction, on the other hand, champions the wisdom of pause, making room for deeper understanding and patient deliberation. Moreover, the effectiveness of inaction is not a universal truth but rather situational, contingent upon the circumstances at hand. There are moments when stepping back, allowing the dynamics of the situation to unfold, can yield more profound results than stepping forward. It's about discerning when to act and when to withhold, understanding that sometimes the best action might be inaction. Essentially, it's about navigating the swing of events with a discerning eye, acknowledging that sometimes the power of inaction can outweigh the most well-intentioned, immediate actions. Culture and societal expectations can often shape our inclination towards action or inaction, influencing our decision-making processes in substantial ways. These constructs operate subtly, weaving into our understanding and expectations of acceptable responses, effectively nudging us towards specific choices. The impact of these forces can be so profound that individuals might opt for action or inaction not based on personal evaluation but rather on these societal norms and cultural constructs, illustrating the power of social factors in dictating human behavior. The ethical and moral repercussions of choosing to act or not to act form another intricate facet of this dialogue. Every decision, whether leading to action or inaction, leaves a ripple in the pond of moral consequences. By deciding to intervene, we might disrupt the natural order, possibly leading to unforeseen circumstances. On the other hand, choosing inaction can often be perceived as a lack of courage or empathy, especially when a situation evidently demands intervention. Navigating this moral landscape is a complex endeavor, demanding careful reflection on one's responsibilities, the potential outcomes, and ultimately, the ethical weight borne by our choices. The psychological implications of action and inaction on an individual are vast and multifaceted. The act of doing, or refraining from it, creates a ripple effect, coloring one's perception of self and influencing their emotional and mental state. Choosing action often leads to a sense of accomplishment, fostering self-efficacy and boosting confidence. However, it can also induce stress or fear of failure if the action is fraught with risk or complexity. Conversely, inaction, while potentially offering a refuge from such immediate pressures, can sow seeds of regret, self-doubt, and stagnation over time. Therefore, the The mental equilibrium of an individual is intrinsically tied to their choices concerning action and inaction. Intuition, the quiet whisper within, plays a vital role in arbitrating between action and inaction. It operates beyond the realm of conscious logic, drawing on a reservoir of experiences, instincts, and subconscious cues. At times, when the scales of rational decision-making are evenly balanced, or when time is of the essence, it is intuition that nudges us towards a course of action or deliberate pause. Intuition, if fine-tuned and trusted, can act as a reliable compass, guiding us through the intricate maze of choices, where the paths of action and inaction intersect and diverge. The ability to step outside of one's own experiences, to see things transpire sans personal involvement, offers a unique perspective. Embrace the tranquility that comes from this vantage point, a serene understanding that the world continues its ceaseless march, regardless of individual actions or inaction. This understanding illuminates the true nature of events and reinforces our comprehension of the interplay between action and inaction in the broader scheme of existence. As we navigate through the annals of history, it becomes remarkably evident how both action and inaction have profoundly shaped our world in distinctive ways. Successes and failures are strewn across the timeline, testament to the myriad implications of our choices to either engage or refrain. Through in-depth examination of past occurrences, one can grasp the profound influence of these dynamics and their inextricable link to the outcomes that have shaped our present. Equally, failure, no less instructive than its counterpart, presents an intriguing panorama of missed opportunities and lost battles, highlighting the role inaction can often play in dictating unfavorable outcomes. Dissecting these historical instances illuminates the nuances of action versus inaction, allowing us to understand the subtleties that can tip the scales in favor of one or the other. By exploring these dichotomies, we cultivate a richer understanding of the role our actions, or the lack thereof, play in orchestrating the melodies of human progress and regression. In the area of personal and professional growth, developing the aptitude for decision-making, particularly regarding taking action or choosing inaction, stands as a critical facet. This capability requires achieving a keen understanding of situations, assessing potential repercussions, and displaying a discerning judgment. An individual must understand when to stride forward, when to pause, and when to step back altogether. By refining these decision-making skills, one can foster a balanced approach, capable of adapting to the ever-evolving challenges and situations in both personal life and professional environment. Leadership and management spotlight the pivotal role of action and inaction. An effective leader discerns the moment to charge ahead, driving initiatives and inspiring teams, just as they recognize the time for deliberate restraint, allowing situations to unfold naturally or providing space for team autonomy. In this way, both action and inaction become not only strategic tools, but also fundamental components of the leadership narrative. The equilibrium between these two forces, thus, serves as a hallmark of effective leadership, embodying the wisdom of knowing when to act and when to remain still. The choice of action is not without its pitfalls. One significant detriment arises when action is pursued for its own sake, devoid of purpose or strategy. This tendency towards gratuitous activity can lead to a maelstrom of unintended consequences, often doing more harm than good. It's a precarious balancing act that underscores the importance of thoughtful, calculated action. Ill-conceived decisions, taken in haste or without adequate understanding of potential fallout, can not only hamper progress but also sow discord and confusion. The interplay of action and inaction extends beyond individual implications, significantly impacting public opinion and perception. The choices we make, or refrain from making, echo within the societal sphere, shaping narratives and swaying perceptions. Furthermore, this dynamic bears a profound connection to self-awareness and self-esteem. The decisions one makes, to act or to remain passive, reflect and influence one's perception of self. A judicious blend of action and inaction can engender a strong sense of self-worth, while a mismatch could lead to self-doubt. Therefore, understanding this relationship is crucial to both personal growth and societal influence. Choosing between doing something and doing nothing can be tricky. This problem comes up often, in all sorts of situations, and it's hard to know what's best. Each choice can lead to very different results, and sometimes things don't turn out as we expect. Consider the decision faced by a business leader about whether to launch a new product line. Action, proceeding with the launch, comes with its own risks, such as a potential failure in the market or the diversion of resources from other productive areas. On the other hand, inaction, choosing not to launch, also carries its dangers, lost opportunities, stagnation in growth, or giving competitors an edge. In this scenario, both action and inaction have their consequences and rewards, and it's challenging to predict the exact outcome. Another instance might be a city mayor debating whether to implement a new, controversial traffic regulation aimed at reducing air pollution. Choosing action could mean facing backlash from unhappy motorists and risking public popularity. Conversely, choosing inaction might mean continued environmental degradation, a failure to act on campaign promises, and criticism from environmental advocacy groups. Again, both outcomes are fraught with potential pitfalls and benefits, making the decision challenging. Finally, consider the predicament of a student deciding whether to confront a friend about their disruptive behavior. The action of confronting might lead to conflict or harm the friendship, but could also result in the friend reconsidering their behavior. Inaction, choosing not to address the issue, might maintain the peace in the short term but could lead to resentment or continued disruptive behavior. Here, too, the outcomes are unpredictable, and the decision between action and inaction is complex. When we make these choices, we often think about what we have to gain and what we could lose. But the reality is, we can't predict everything. Sometimes, whether we choose to act or do nothing, the result is surprising. This shows us that making decisions can be complex and unpredictable, and we need to keep learning and finding better ways to deal with these tough choices. Assessing the long-term implications of action and inaction underscores an essential consideration in our decision-making processes. It is not solely about the immediacy of consequences but also the ripple effects of our choices that extend far into the future. In the realm of sustainability and ecology, this dynamic takes on even greater significance. Action could mean taking deliberate steps to preserve our environment, such as adopting renewable energy or reducing waste, while inaction might involve disregarding the mounting evidence of climate change and continuing our current consumption patterns. The decision between action and inaction here is no less than a decision on the path our planet will tread. Critical thinking plays a vital role in the choice between doing and not doing. It challenges us to dissect, analyze, and reflect upon the various possible outcomes and the potential impacts they might have. This process becomes particularly interesting when we consider action and inaction across different cultures and traditions. There's an intriguing variation in how societies perceive and value both concepts. For instance, some cultures might prioritize action, associating it with progress and personal responsibility, while others may put a higher value on inaction, viewing it as an expression of wisdom, patience, or a response to uncertainty. Thus, understanding the role of cultural context can illuminate the multifaceted nature of our behaviors, influencing the course of our collective and individual actions. In the context of technological advancement and social transformation, the future of action and inaction offers intriguing implications. As technology forges ahead, it consistently alters the playing field, reframing the definitions and consequences of both action and inaction. To act could mean adopting new technologies, continuously upgrading skills, or participating in the digital revolution. Conversely, inaction might signify reluctance to embrace technological change, which could lead to a widening digital divide, career stagnation, or even social exclusion. The dichotomy of action and inaction, in this case, is the choice between riding the wave of change or staying on the shore, potentially being left behind. However, the social changes catalyzed by technology are equally vital. Here, action could mean engaging in discourse, pushing for equity and access to technology, and demanding accountability from tech giants. Inaction, on the other hand, could be viewed as tacit acceptance of prevailing inequalities or potential abuses of power. Consequently, as we step further into a tech-driven future, each individual's choice between action and inaction will shape not just their personal journey but also our collective social landscape. The dichotomy of action versus inaction thus forms the backbone of our response to the rapidly evolving technological landscape and the social changes it brings. At the heart of the discussion between action and inaction lies a singular, defining attribute: mindfulness. Mindfulness, in this context, is about the thoughtful, deliberate consideration we put into deciding whether to act or refrain. It is the internal deliberation that examines our motives, weighs the potential outcomes, and evaluates the larger implications of our choices. A mindful approach to action and inaction allows us to more deeply understand the intricacies involved in these decisions, rather than acting impulsively or avoiding action out of fear or indecision. Mindfulness, however, is not simply about making a choice between action and inaction. It also involves a consistent reevaluation and adjustment of our choices as circumstances change. It means being adaptable, able to shift our course of action when necessary and pause when it's wise. Hence, mindfulness imbues the dialectic of action and inaction with an adaptive fluidity. It's a compass guiding us through the labyrinth of decisions, enabling us to navigate the complex landscape of contemporary issues with insight, flexibility, and a greater sense of responsibility.